Okay. I was recommended to Sister Dubois at 1752 Flatbush Avenue. Last stop on the 2 and 5 train. She's really on target with her information. Since she attended to me, everything has been great. I highly recommend her to you. You won't miss this opportunity of your lifetime. You should see her too.
Water Lane Entertainment, the 30+ group and Midday Medley presents the Jamaican Music Festival, Sunday, May 26th at the Roy Wilkins Park in Queens, New York, featuring Angel, Johnny Clark, I-Octane, Derek Morgan, Tony Rebel, Mackie Diamond, Trevor Clark, Horace Andy, Al Jam, Ding Dong, Pinchers, Mr. Charisma, Dennis Al Capone, and Coco T. General admission at $60, VIP $150. Prices will go up soon. Pick up your tickets in all the usual ticket outlets in Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens and Long Island. Call for more information 631-336-8353. That's 631-336-8353. The Jamaican Music Festival. First time in New York, so come and celebrate the music of Jamaica. Your MCs, Comedian Lemon and Bosie Boy Floyd. Don't forget the date, Sunday, May 26th at the Roy Wilkins Park. You can't afford to miss this one.
Well, hello there, and good evening. Welcome, welcome, one and all, to Evenings with Eleanore. As you know, we're coming to you once a week from King and Queen Radio and BrooklynStation.com from the heart of Brooklyn, New York. And we welcome you around the world. We thank you for your support, for your friendship, for your emails, for reaching out, and for being with us every week. Tonight, of course, you know there's a lot going on. We have one of New York's top jazz groups in the house tonight. New York's own, did I say that? New York's own, and I think there's probably a band member from every borough, I'm not sure, but Diverse Souls joins us tonight. And we've got a lot to talk about. Of course, we know that a lot of you are jazz aficionados and that you're tuning in tonight and you're gonna be in for a wonderful, wonderful treat, I guarantee it. But we'd like to recap and let you know that we appreciate those emails that are coming in. Our friends from the UK, I'm going to read a couple of your emails tonight. I am so thankful that you decided to send a couple of humorous emails as well. Some of you guys can be extremely serious. I welcome your comments, nevertheless. I'd like to remember at this time one of our peers who passed away today. One of our premier artists in the world of house, Miss Kim English. We'd like to honor her with a couple of my choices from her work and the Hector mix. Holly, let's pay tribute to Kim English. You guys, if you'd like to call in and leave your comments or talk to us about working with her, and I'm quite sure that her music is in the house every time you're out there at your party or you're working. There's no mistaking. It was house.
Literally. Literally. Yes.
Yeah. So that's nice that you showed up. I appreciate that.
No, appreciate y'all having us.
I mean, when you sent me the tracks, I was, as I told you, I heard so much in there that I was familiar with. You know, that's my music, that's my era, that's my flow. You know? We've had a couple of jazz artists on the show, and we have a jazz artist next week. It's the 50th anniversary of the Coltrane-Johnny Hartman collaboration. And, you know, artists are releasing that you. Beautiful picture right now. No, thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. So since you guys are early, you're just gonna just go with the flow.
That's fine.
You know, every week I come in and I usually have a format. But when you start talking about what you love and your passion, you always veer off the path. You know, so that's one of the things that I love about this show. We can relax, we can, drink if we want. I have started to drink wine or beverages, but I was told everybody drinks, so I,
Well, I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
okay.
I wouldn't mind, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
My idea was to have a living room setting, so relax, actually say what's on your mind, and I have to worry about, the protocol. And she said, anything you want to drink, feel free. But I'm getting my coffee all ready, and I'm sort of feeling it growing. I started September 12th last year. On Wednesday, and now we're on Tuesday. We're growing. We got like 40 million throughout the UK, Australia, Central, South America. Everywhere you could possibly think of. You're getting
When I look around, I cannot take for granted things given to me, the favor I've been handed, all the miracles and wonders I have witnessed. I do not guess. I know that I am truly blessed. I'm still faith, no matter what I'm seeing, 'cause that's the key. A life I'm receiving, the impossible. Take my place in my life, the greatest steps, ascending through those high heights.
well, we can talk about it on the show if you want. Okay, we can talk about it. Alright, so I want to add, because I think it's an 11 o'clock. So you guys get as much time as you want. That's why I said, Mama, Roger, whatever I need. This is my I've got my health, I've got my strength, my life, my heart, Lord, yes. Poetry shows was that sitting there, you are for my need. So you have 2 hours and we say, later on the with questions, have anybody call in and ask me questions or anything more? I have a lot of new articles around. No matter what level you're on, that you want somebody to do.
No matter what I'm saying,
Thank you, Ashley.
a life am I receiving, the impossible. Taking place in my life, the greatest steps, ascending through the
That was pretty cool. That was a couple of
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
that's high ground, wasn't
Thanks
it?
for picking up on that.
Yes, yeah, I heard you sing a little something.
I'd just like to remind you guys that I'm sitting here tonight with diverse souls. We're going to get into what they're about and what they're into in a moment, but I've got to pay the bills. We all understand that. I'd like to remind you that you are watching and you are listening to King and Queen Radio. We're located in Midwood, Brooklyn, right in the heart of my territory, where we grew up. We all grew up in Brooklyn, or we all wanted to. Just to remind you that on King and Queen Radio, BrooklynStation.com, Livestream.com, KNQ Radio, YouTube.com, King and Queen Radio, SisterDubong.com. If you have any questions whatsoever, any comments on this show or any other show, please give Zena Pollen a call at 718-253-7273. And just to respond to this gentleman from the UK by the name of Frank Shore. Yes, a lot of musicians are into numerology. Of course we are. You know, we take the best as a musician, I can speak, and I think I can speak for everyone. While you're traveling, you come across many, many cultures, many habits, folks from every walk of life. And as a musician, you seem to gather the goodness from every culture. I'm not a Buddhist, but I appreciate and I respect the Buddhist culture, Muslim culture, the Asian culture, the Caribbean culture. We are one and the same. We want the same things for our families, for our children. We just want them with a different accent. That's it. So please remember, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And watch King and Queen Radio. Listen to BrooklynStation.com and yours truly, Evenings with Eleanore, every Wednesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Gary Bartz, that's Eastern Standard Time, not Pacific Time. Once again, we're sitting here with diverse souls. And I'd like to introduce or have them introduce themselves to you. We'll start with you.
Hey family, how you doing?
How's your mic on? I think you have to push that up a little bit. Is this thing on? Don Herrera.
Hey family, how y'all doing?
Yeah.
This is Don Schweitzer speaking, keyboard player from Diverse Souls,
Don, where are you from?
from the Bronx, New York.
Bronx in the house.
Can I just do a quick shout out?
Absolutely, you can
Because if
shout
I
out.
don't, I'm gonna get beat up. I like
Take
to
your
shout
time.
out
Take
a
your
few
time.
family members. You know, my cousin Robin, Monet, Nikki, Brittany, my brother PJ, my brother Amin. I got a list of family, but
Go ahead.
that's
Who's
a
that?
quick shout out to the immediate family
Okay.
up in the BX.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Greg Witherspoon, bass player for Diverse Souls. Born and raised in Brooklyn. Moved out to Long Island for, I guess, that great dream. Take it from me, man. Don't go for it. But,
I'm
it's
still
joking.
dreaming.
I'm still dreaming, yeah. You know, but it's all good. Went to Thomas Jefferson. Like to shout out to my wife, Flo, my son Isaiah, TJ Mambo, and everybody out there. Enjoy your night. We're here just to let you know what's going on with us.
All right, thank you.
Hello, people out there, family, close friends, acquaintances, Facebook friends, and all the other websites that social websites that we're involved with, and the general community. My name is Glenn Gibson. I'm from Jamaica, Queens. I'm the third borough of 5 sitting up in here. And yeah, I'm the guitarist / singer for Diverse Souls. And I'd like to thank our hostess here for having us in the house.
Thank you so much. All the people that you've been shouting out to, I'd just like to remind you that you can give us a call and talk to these folks and ask them any question. You can reach us at 718-676-0820 or 718-253-4239. Give us a call and let's talk jazz. Be in the moment. So tell me, what have you guys been up to?
Well, recently we had released an EP, and with that we did a video as well. So what we've been doing is definitely the promotion end of the music, and so we've been doing it through social media. And the EP, by the way, is available on most of the digital outlets.
Okay.
You know, Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, etc. But yeah, that's what we've been doing, is actually just promoting the album at this point, you know.
So how long have you been doing this?
Wow, a minute. Well, growing up in the Bronx, you know, my influence early on was the hip hop, and then, you know, from there I started playing keyboards, and then actually how I met
my partner in crime here, Brother Witherspoon, was through an audio engineering school.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was actually my instructor, and so that's how we linked up. And so we've been playing together for a while.
So what was your inspiration?
Oh, I come from way back. You name
We
it,
all
War, Mandrill,
Oh my
Fatback
goodness.
Band, all
War.
that. Yes. It's I go way back with that. It's just that groove of music. And coming up in Brownsville, we had the opportunity across from us. You had the old apartment buildings. You had the A side, the B side.
Where did you grow up in Brownsville?
Oh man. Riverdale and Osborne,
Okay.
right in the heart of Brownsville. I was born in Bed-Stuy, moved to
Okay.
Crown Heights,
Okay.
moved to Brownsville,
Okay.
moved to East New York.
Well, just to interject, I grew up on Green between Troop and Sumner.
Okay.
Then I moved to Dumont between Rockaway and Stone.
Dumont, between Rockaway and Stone, Brownsville houses and Tilden houses.
Yeah.
300 or 360.
360.
There you go.
See?
This is Brownsville. Villains in the house, folks. Wow.
That's
just
right.
crazy.
So we were neighbors and had no idea.
I was right there on Southern Osborne.
Oh, my
Thanks to you.
goodness.
Matter of fact, LA's Posse, how y'all doing? I know y'all out there, man. It's been a minute, but thank you guys for checking in on Facebook and supporting us for tonight. But yeah, neighbors.
Yes, we were.
Wow.
We were.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
What high school you went to? I'm gonna interview you now.
Well,
Where did you go to high school?
Well, there were very few liberties when I was growing up. I had 4 brothers, right? My parents were like, "You're going nowhere at no time."
Right.
But the things that I could get away with, I made sure they were far away.
Okay.
So I went to school on 42nd and 2nd.
42nd and
It's a
2nd.
commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was far away. So
Yeah.
I could play hooky and run over to the Ed Sullivan Theater,
She's
and-
confessing her sins as we speak, folks.
But seriously, I had music in my heart, and I wanted to go where I thought it was, and that was the closest school to the industry.
Wow.
So
It's deep.
that was
It's
it.
deep.
But getting back to your influences, Mandrill, I thought that was just me.
Just the reference. Oh man, how can I tell you this? This is nuts. It's a long, crazy story. My mom's back in the days coming up. We went to the Apollo almost every Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I've seen everybody from Sammy Davis Jr. to Joe Tex to James Brown and all that sort of stuff with me. Then
Fox Theater, maybe?
the Fox Theater, I knew where it was. I never went to the Fox and stuff.
Okay.
I was a little bit younger and stuff. I couldn't break away just then, but
I'll tell you about it.
one Saturday afternoon, I had my mother's old Olympia stereo. I had taken the legs off and I stuck it in my room in the project at all age. And I was just messing with the dials. Because back then, nothing was on FM. So I sort of scrolled up the dial to the end and I came back and I heard music. I'm like, wow. And the music was long. So up before that, you I don't know, those stations that you heard 3 minutes worth of music.
That's
and that
right.
was it.
That's right.
And now this thing is going on for 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and all this stuff like that. And I'm like, I called my man upstairs. I said, Dad, come downstairs. You got to hear this. And we sat there, and what it was, this brother that busted loose in New York and lost his mind, Frankie Crocker,
Oh, yeah.
had played all 4 sides of the James Brown Sex Machine album. I lost my mind. I haven't been right ever since. And that was it.
Godfather of soul.
Yes, and like I said, coming up in Brooklyn, you had Crown Heights Affair, you had the Fatback Band, you had Mandrill, you had Jimmy Cash, you had all these guys that were coming
That's right.
around.
Don't forget Sky.
Well, I went to school with Sky at Grass Construction. Randy and we all went to school together. So that was my influence. So all that came about, and my mother sneaking me into places. Bless you, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Small's Paradise. How I got into the celebrity club. I mean, I'm 3 years old, running around with all these grown folks, these jazz musicians and stuff like that. Actually saw Duke Ellington. And so it's been there for some whatever reason, but this groove that we have, I really can't tell you. It just came out of, it's nuts because we slide into a lot of Afro-Cuban stuff. And I think that was coming up in Brownsville. Like I said, we had the opportunity to have a family across the courtyard from us that every Friday night in their apartment, they had a full-blown salsa band.
Wow.
And that was, so I'm just in the window just taking all this in. So I think that's part of it.
There was lots of music in the neighborhood.
Yes.
From the churches,
Yes.
you know,
The community
on
centers,
the stoops,
everywhere.
absolutely,
Yeah. In people's
everywhere.
basements. You know, it was there.
Everywhere.
You heard it.
So what's your history?
Oh, man. Greg took most of my time, so I'm gonna leave right now. You know, my man, Greg, I have to say this, brother.
He's the almanac of music. He's about to open up.
He's trying to butter me up. I first gotta say, I appreciate Greg and John. I met these brothers here through another gentleman, another musician, saxophonist, who was doing something at a place called Liquid Lounge in Valley Stream. Could you please get that brother shot? Yeah, his name is Ronald Service. He's involved. He's doing something in Queens called the Artist Market, and which the Artist Market I saw online. They have something also in Brooklyn as well as in Queens. But
Well,
this
maybe we
gentleman-
should invite him over to
yeah,
talk
Ron
about
Service,
it.
a saxophonist that I met Don and Greg through him.
Okay.
And like I said, they're doing something called the Artist Market throughout the week. Various things they're doing every weekend. I think Friday they do something, Thursday. Every day of the week they're doing something different. But anyway, the influences, wow, initially go back to, I have to say, is a combination of thanking my grandmother, bringing home Beatles records, coupled with watching Ed Sullivan.
Okay.
And getting that mix of the British invasion coupled with the soul music. See, my father's mother is from Trinidad. And I don't know, I guess.
Hi, Trinidad. We're down there. Hope you're watching.
And I gotta get over there too, by the way. I haven't been in my homeland.
Hope you're watching.
I haven't been in homeland at all, actually. But, yeah, really, beat me. But, I think it was a combination of her bringing those Beatles records home, because she could see we liked it. Like I said, Ed Sullivan show,
That's
which
right,
I know you know
covered-
about.
you covered
Some
everything.
listeners may not know about that, but it was a variety show that featured a lot of different artists.
Right,
So
every
between
artist.
that, the records, me listening to the soul music, the British invasion stuff, the Beatles, the Animals, the Rolling Stones, James Brown, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, Stevie Wonder, all these people, coupled with over the years just appreciating the jazz music that I didn't like in the beginning. My father played sax.
I got it.
And in
Yeah,
the
I
beginning,
understand.
it was a combination of all those things plus going to the carnivals.
I
We
see.
used to go to the carnivals in Manhattan. There wasn't a lot of carnivals out here
That's true.
in Queens back in the
Or in
mid-60s.
Brooklyn, really.
Right.
Really, we had to travel.
We had to travel to Manhattan to go to the carnival. So
The trains would take you out,
Yes.
but you couldn't get back in.
Yes. You're absolutely correct. Out here in Brooklyn, Queens, they didn't have that. And I know Royal Wilkins Park is getting ready to do something May
Oh,
26th
yeah.
with the Jamaican
Yes, we are
culture.
promoting it, as a matter of
Yes.
fact. We've been
Yeah.
promoting it.
And I live not that far from
Looks
there.
like a huge affair.
Okay.
You know, we mentioned last week, the folks that were on the show, the artists. Zena Pollen, I think, is also sponsoring the event, or she asked us to mention the event. Do you have the flyer with you?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Holly, while we're talking here, I would appreciate if we could play a track of Diverse Souls. I know we have it up.
I saw something, one thing, and it was like a recording that they were at a club.
No. Take a walk. Take a walk.
You can leave the mic here unless you go do something. Or you do something like drop it.
You know, one of the things I wanted to talk about was growing up, you know, in the industry. We came up when, well, at least I did, when there wasn't the social media thing. You had the beeper, you had the answering service,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah,
Remember
trip line
those
phone.
days? Absolutely.
Right.
You
Forgot about
know
I'm old.
That word
You
goes
know.
way
Well,
back.
one of the things that I had wanted to say too, because you touched on an interesting point. When we did this project, it really was, brothers coming together collectively.
Okay.
So when we did the recording, it wasn't more or less like a dictatorship because Brother Glenn brings so much to the table as well as Spoon, and I have to say our drummer, Mr. Dan Clefman as well. And so when you look at the influences, it's definitely an NYC thing.
Okay.
Because like, you know, growing up, you know, I grew up in the Bronx.
All right.
And that Latin influence
you had to
was
have
very
that.
prevalent. And for me, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say for me, I have to really say this because one of the earliest influences for me was my Uncle Peter. And he played all of that Fania All-Star Latin jazz, and I grew up with that. So in one ear, I'm listening to that, I'm listening to Earth, Wind & Fire, Gil Scott-Heron, James
I
Brown.
can hear that flavor, Gil Scott flavor in some of your tracks.
Well, it's us.
I can
you know,
hear
it's a we thing. It's a we thing. It's definitely a we thing.
That was a bit of a dictatorship on that.
Oh, come on, man.
We did embrace it. I mean, it is cool stuff. I mean, the Bible, I found in the Bible, I love that song. We do it in our show and stuff like that. But he's sort of strong. He didn't strong arm us. He just, I think he just wore us down to the point where, and then he could sing the song. So therefore,
okay.
See, now that he done put us on blast on NYC, that's cool. But hey, I think one of the things that we did do too is that we used the technology, but we flipped it for what we were doing.
Okay.
So on this EP, what you're not
going on.
Yeah, well, what you're not gonna hear is no drum machines,
Okay.
no sampling, no auto tunes.
Okay.
It's live instruments.
All right.
You know, just from beginning to end. So because we had the freedom to do, you know, our thing, this is what the results were.
Okay. Holly, let's light it up. There you go. I mean, your graphics are awesome.
A lot of this whole project has developed into people and things coming into place. And, you know, meeting him, Greg, and then hooking up with the video guy. A lot of stuff is just happening.
Wow, last week we had one I could read. Last week we had one I could read. Yeah, that was. That's the promotion.
I still love the far from there.
You know, speaking of the Apollo, when I was in the 11th grade, I wrote to my classmates, we wanted to go to talent show in the Apollo. I mean, tell me I wasn't a writer. No. I mean, it was one of the best things that I could ever tell you, to be on the radio show with the hometown. It was great. It was great. But the memories of your journey, you know, that brings you to this point, and you still have that love for it, and it's, you know, I still feel like a kid. So tell us about this track. What did we just listen to?
This is It Is What It Is.
Is this your title track?
Yes, this is the title track of the EP. This is actually the track that has the video as well.
Okay. Tell us about your graphics. I'm quite sure that when we sent the promo out this week that Diverse Souls would be on the show, when I went to the website and I saw your photos, the quality of the photos, the colors, and I'm a color person. I love color photos. But the quality, the method that was used, tell me about that.
Well, to tell you the truth, we were just very fortunate to find a very good, struggling but very good photographer.
Well, let's give him a plug.
Well, his name, what was his name again?
Don't put me on blast.
Uh-oh.
Okay. because it was actually like a while back.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like, what was it? Last
Matter of
summer?
fact, it was last St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, but I know his first name was Michael, and he was from London.
Okay.
Stumbled on it.
And we actually just stumbled upon him. And what he did was he invited us down under the Brooklyn Bridge, and he said, listen, he had this idea, and we just ran with it, and that was what you saw.
It was a great backdrop.
Yes.
That bridge was a great backdrop. And I noticed that he had some black and whites, and the black and whites were awesome.
Yeah, well, that was his thing. You know, we kind of sat back and he said, hey, stay there.
Very
He's a great guy.
And there.
Talented.
And that's how that went, yeah.
Well, it certainly fitted what you are trying to get across in your music. You know, there's a quality, there is a sound, and, you know, I love where your music takes me. As I'm listening to it, you know, of course, being a lyricist, you're hearing things that you're saying, oh man, this feels good, this feels great.
Thank you.
And to know that you're the vocalist.
I'm not on the track, but
You're not on the
when
track?
we do the next live show, he and I will be doing, well, I will be backing him up pretty much on the background.
Okay.
On the EP is another gentleman singing. When we go live, I'll be doing a song.
Does your drummer sing?
As far as, actually let me shout out the vocalist. The young lady who did a serious job, Charlene Thorpe, that is the beautiful backgrounds that you hear.
Okay.
What you'll hear a little bit later is because we had featured artists on the ballad that Tomorrow Bring is brother Paul Jamal. So what we did is that we did our thing, and then at the same time we had featured artists. On the instrumental, we had a brother by the name of Mark Narcisse. Shout out to Mark Narcisse, who did the horn line.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
throughout the EP, we kind of gave like some different looks. So like It Is What It Is, it's kind of like a Gil Scott-Heron vibe. There's other songs that go in a different direction. So, you know, as we play the EP, then we can, you know, speak on the different influences.
You know, when I went to do my due diligence and I pulled up the bio and I said, okay, just to read you the bio, it says, Diverse Souls combines the musical elements of soul, jazz, and funk, as well as Latin grooves. Based out of New York, the band's influences provide an eclectic sound for the contemporary listener. And I happen to like that line. I used that line. It was very nicely stated. And it mentions the band's clientele. Glenn Gibson guitar, Dan Clefman drums, Don Schweitzer keyboards and piano, and Greg Witherspoon bass. The project came together through the writing experiences of Don Schweitzer. Your writing experiences, what were they?
Well, it had to do with the music that was going on, because I was like the little brother of the funk cats. That, you know, I was trying to run behind them.
Okay.
And so what came out of that, what was left, I should say, was initially was the hip hop. But what came through the hip hop is that I'm listening through to you know, jazz songs. I'm listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, Motown. All these things were, you know, on the radio.
Were you writing for other artists as well as yourself, or?
I have.
Okay.
I have. But writing has always been my first love.
Oh, really?
Yes, but and I disagree with this Witherspoon. It was not no dictatorship, because when we went into the studio, I definitely relied on these brothers.
I was there. I was led away against my will. I was there.
Listen, when we came into the studio, I definitely relied on Greg. I relied on Glenn. I relied on Dan. And the thing about it is, when you have those energies coming together, sometimes, you know, I just stood back and it was just like a really beautiful experience. Now, I would love to sit here and say that the EP is me, but no. The people that you hear playing, Diverse Souls, is the band.
Okay.
The verse souls is
Okay.
the band. I will repeat that.
You know, that would have started a real quick fight, and we're
Please,
in the public
Yo,
eye right now.
Glenn, take the mic, man. Take the mic.
That's what family does.
I have to reiterate though, it was only one song he was saying that about. He didn't say that you were the dictator, correct?
No,
It was just, yeah,
Which
which song was that?
Alright.
Okay.
At least I think it was just one song.
So to continue with the bio, it says that as well as the music contributions of what we now call diverse souls, additional vocals are provided by Charlene T. and Paul Jamal. The next step in this musical journey for the band is to provide the listener with unapologetic soul, as well as food for the spirit, for your hearts, souls, and minds. Welcome, family. You know, when it comes to jazz, I think you are just sort of inherent into the family, you know, which I think everybody loves R&B and they love house music, but jazz is a real family. You just are taken in by the love, the improv, what you're bringing to the table, and on that spontaneity.
Well, I would like to touch on that because I would personally like to think that what we're doing is more eclectic. Because, like, if you listen to this song that's in the background, this is like an Afro-Cuban thing.
We are going to hear it from the top.
Right. So, and now I can understand why you would say that because we had a song that is definitely straight up jazz.
Okay.
But this is, again, musicians with freedom.
Oh.
So we ain't
okay.
got someone on our back saying, hey, you need to sound like this, you need to sound like that. We went in to the basement because this is how this was recorded. You know, musicians going into the basement. And even though, yes, I might have did the writing, but man, what these brothers brought to the table, and not just the brothers, but the singers as well.
I got it.
So it kind of came together, not kind of, but it came together collectively.
So your idea isn't written in stone. You guys get together and you can embellish and build on it.
And he knows that.
You know?
This brother knows that.
Okay. I bet.
What brother you talking about?
I'm talking about Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Witherspoon.
Go ahead.
When they deprive you of water and food and say you won't see your loved ones for the next couple of days, you'll do anything at that point. Save me, please.
Let us go home. So I take it that rehearsals are a lot of fun.
Like I said,
Fun and brutal. Fun and brutal.
Fun and brutal.
Yeah.
You know, I do actually have a couple of questions here I wanted to ask you guys, but as I said, when we sit here, it just seems to go off the format and I am left to my own devices. Good thing I like to talk. Let's start with, I see that a lot of groups are committed, like for instance, the Rolling Stones. You know, they've been together, Earth, Wind and Fire, they've been together many, many moons, you know, and they built a reputation of family, generations together. I find that a lot of groups, even though they come together for a couple of projects, each man seems to have desires to stand alone. How does this group feel about that? Are you guys building an empire here? Do you plan to be together till death do you part?
Well, let me say first and foremost.
For lack of a better way to put it. I know you got something to say about that.
But no, first and foremost, these brothers are not only my musician friends, but they're family.
Okay.
So when you look at the project, it's the same people playing on all the songs. It wasn't like we went all over the place to say, oh, can you help us here and there? We did have featured artists, as I mentioned, Mark Narcisse.
I understand.
And,
but you guys are the core.
The core.
You guys are the core.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So I see that you know, when you talk about developing ideas, is it something that you can develop your own idea and bring it to the table and you guys work on it, or is there a system?
The system that is usually done is that I'll come to them with just chords and a song.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm saying to Greg, hey man, you play this, or Glenn, you play that. What happens is that Glenn may play something and I'll say, wow. I said, I didn't even hear it like that, but I'm glad you did it. Same thing, you know, with Brother Greg, and with Dan as well. So more or less, it's like the song is there, but everybody gets a chance to put their own input in. Because number one, it's not like I say, a dictatorship. Because
Like it's written in stone.
Right, because the whole thing is about the music, and it's about really what's best for the music. So I don't always have all the answers.
I got it.
You know, and that's why I rely on my family.
That's
you know,
true.
that's why I rely. You know, it's a family affair.
You know, one of the things
That's Sly Stone would put it.
Yeah, right.
Another
It's a family
influence, a
affair.
great influence.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that you said, freedom to do the music. And you'll know that back in the day, when people like Benson or MC Hammer, they'd say, you sold out. You know, when Benson decided to do, you know, pop music.
Same thing with Hezekiah Walker. I mean, not Hezekiah, Kurt Franklin.
Yeah, Kurt Franklin. You know, they have a tendency to say, you should stay in this genre. But me, I've been club, hip hop, underground, jazz, R&B, and I enjoy that freedom. Now, people have called it floundering. But now, actors want to dance, dancers want to sing, singers want to act, musicians want to, you know, so that freedom of the music. Do you think this is something that the artists force themselves, or that the industry is going to accept? Because mainstream artists always seem to be straight ahead in whatever it is they do. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they have to basically eat. You're under contract. I know, but I'm saying you're under contract. So I mean, what's your integrity to yourself? And the thing that where radio comes into play, and why we appreciate so much that you're giving us this opportunity tonight, is the fact that it being more of a free form radio, then you know, I don't want to call letters and stuff like that, but you got program directors and you got sponsors. And certain things have to be done a certain way to pull in a certain demographic of an audience, then you are sort of handcuffed into doing certain things. So with the rotation and the frequency of something being played, which is a subtle brainwashing that goes on to that the general public just gets to the fact or to the point where they accept this stuff, this cookie cutter stuff is being put out. So therefore, we are the free-form artists that are coming up with new ways to do things, or we're not going with the mold, we're breaking out of that. We're sort of like pushed underground to these places where the listeners not really, you know, they really don't know about it. So, you know, if I give you oatmeal 7 days a week, you don't know nothing about filet mignon, you don't know nothing about omelet, you don't know nothing, all you know is oatmeal. So the thing is, once they give you this, and that's what they give you, so when we come out there, you know, we're being looked at as like aliens. You know, you want to run us underground because something's different. And that's just basically, to me, that's the handcuffing of, you want to eat, or can you look at yourself in the mirror the next day? Do you find that middle ground? How do you go about that? Do you cross over here a little bit? Do you step to this side of the street a little bit? Do you wind up going down the middle? How do you play it to the point where you can still love yourself, love your craft that you do? Because they'll take it away from you.
Are you kidding?
This whole process of what we're doing, you know, as far as putting the EP together and stuff, like, it got to the point I was like, go ahead, man. I done played, you know, recorded. I can't deal with this part. I mean, it's too much, but it almost pulls you away from what brought you to it.
I got it.
And that's what I love about this ensemble of guys that we have here. And I give them the business all the time. We've been around each other for 20 plus years, but I tell him from time to time, man, the blessings that he has, this brother here too, but the songwriting that he comes up with, the words, I always ask him, where did you come up with that line from, or where did you come up with the concept? And a lot of times he'll bring me what I call the skeleton to the song. He'll have little pieces of it, and we add the meat to it, the muscles, the tendons, and stuff like that. But sometimes he brings me that skeleton. I'm like, I ain't no point, man. You know, this is like, Jesus. You know, and then we turn around, and as it develops and goes along, it's something that we say, wow. And then I started listening to the words, and I said, it's a deep brother. I mean, when he comes across it, he is truly blessed. And I'm thankful to be around him. And when we do get a chance to hear Dance of the Nile is something, when it came out, we don't know where it came from.
Okay.
We don't know how it happened, but it happened. Narcisse.
Okay.
And we stood back and we like, did you get it? Is that's us? You know, so it's a whole other thing where we're going to this jazz vibe it's to the point where we just give you, I guess, all sorts of sides of it. Just to answer your question, you know, artists they're going to do what they have to do to eat. And then, like I said, you true to your craft, or are you being controlled?
Got it. Can I have your input?
But you know, piggybacking on what Greg said
I do
about
want your input.
you have to eat. Thank you. This being 2019 as opposed to 1919 or 1929 and so forth and so on, the way that we're able to put our stuff out is kind of, it makes it so it's not as much pressure on you to be yourself creatively, even though Greg's point still stands.
Mm-hmm.
The way it is now with being able, like years ago we had, which we all know old enough to know about these major labels.
Yes.
The major labels had the A&R people.
Yes.
And the A&R people equates with what Greg was saying about being handcuffed to go a certain route.
Mm-hmm.
The A&R people had you go that route.
I got it.
Today, it's still kind of the same, but you're not as much in pressure to do that because we put out our own stuff. There was no A&R guy above Don.
No, we're going to talk
Greg,
about that.
You know,
Because I'm in the house with you.
right. So with that, you can be creative and not have to think as much about the genre.
I got you.
See,
I
so
got you.
these days you have a little bit more freedom, but it still stands as like Rick said, it's about personal survival too.
That's true. Holly, now I'm going to ask you to play the next track, but I want to come back to this because I want to talk to you about, you know, like you said in the day, there were different jobs. Everybody had a job to do. You know, you had promotion, you had management, you had the rose crew, you had, you know, chief cook and bottle washers.
Yes.
Now the artists have to be all that.
Yeah, right.
You know, without the knowledge of marketing and yada yada.
Yes.
We got to talk about that. Can we hear that, Holly?
Last night, we made love for the first time. Taste of heaven,
When it came in.
The cover I had of High Ground. The track. Well, I had the extra glasses, so I could use that part in it, right? The part. But then I plugged it in myself. Robin Martin, I hired Robin Martin, that's 7 grand. So, tell me about that track. That is definitely my favorite. That's my favorite.
Well, thank you. First and foremost, let me shout out Paul Jamal, who did a really, not really good job.
That
Great
interpretation was awesome.
Yes. But really where that song came from is just life experiences, you know?
Were your lyrics written, or did he just improvise as?
Oh no, the song was written.
Okay.
But to his credit, I gave him the skeleton.
Okay, good.
And Paul, being Paul, said, hey, listen, I want to put my own spin on it.
Okay.
So I said, hey, go for it. And then after a while, man, I'm just sitting back, and the results, man, is what you hear.
You know, in the day, when you show up at the studio, everything was written in stone.
Right.
You just showed up, went straight to the mic, and did what you were told.
Mm-hmm.
If you were lucky, when time came for the tag, they'd say, do whatever you do.
Yeah, right.
And that's the only freedom you had.
And they would fade that out. As the song was ended, they would fade that out.
Right, but hopefully you could work that tag where they'd say, oh man, let's flip that around.
Another
upside
thing
down and
about
backwards.
the technology today I wanted to speak on
Yes,
is that
please
technology that we have, it gives us quite a bit of freedom. Like,
Yes.
let's just say, you know, Pro Tools, Logic, whatever the case may be, where back in the days, if we tried to record this back in the days, we would have went broke.
On a 3-inch.
Definitely,
3-inch
definitely.
tape.
But now,
Yes.
with the Pro Tools, you know, you got, you know, where you got your flexibility to record. So that's where the singer can do his vocal arrangements. That's
Yes.
where, you know, Brother
Yes.
Glenn can come
Your
in
workshop.
and do his thing. Greg
Absolutely.
on bass, and you know, so on and so forth. Yeah.
When I use Pro Tools or Logic, that's the only way that these ideas that are forming in my mind, I can get them out the way I want them. I don't have to have a drummer or a guitar man or a keyboard man interpret my ideas from a whistle. You know, in the old days it was like, no, this note.
Right.
Remember those days?
Right.
You know, so now those ideas and those chord changes, I hear them in my head and I can find them and I can record them, right? So when I get that idea, that structure down, and I'm ready to go in the studio, I can call that guitar man or that drummer and say, hey, this is the groove I feel, or you know what I'm saying? So that is basically, there's not an electronic track that I've produced that I haven't had live musicians on. All I have to do is cook dinner, call them, and plug them in.
The lady was the basic template.
Hey, let me tell you, when I come in and I say, look, this is, and Clarence Oliver, and I'm not a drummer, but I know the rhythms that I want to hear. So this was the drummer for me that I've been working with all my life, basically. We were together at All Platinum Records from Sylvia Robinson days. And he put the live drums on my track. I got a chance, since it was my project, to mic the drums. Now that might seem like a nothing project to most folks.
Now we understand it to be.
But let me tell you,
it's an important thing.
the trial and error. I mean, once you mic'd it and you played it back and you said, "Oh no, that's not," and you move.
Yeah.
Well, for me, that was the most traumatic experience of my life. I will never do that again. But my point is, you can't do everything. No matter how much you try, you always have to have that. I don't care how I can play that keyboard or form those chords. That's not the flavor I want. I'm not as fluent a keyboard player as I would like to be. So I call you.
Well, I like to piggyback on that because, you know, for one thing, our music has a beautiful legacy. I'm gonna be a little biased. I'm gonna say the best legacy on the planet.
Okay.
Now that's my opinion. Now, not that we have our specialties, right?
Mhm.
But I'll give an example. Greg leans to the funk, right? I fall in between, jazz, soul, and hip hop.
Okay.
Now, Glenn is eclectic too. But now, one of the things that Glenn brings that I wish I had is that the brother is a serious gospel musician
Ooh.
as well.
I
And
see. Okay.
so I wanted to touch on that
Okay.
because, see, we really tend to underestimate the gospel influence in our music. And
Not
so
me, but I get it.
no, but so
Generally, sometimes, because we all
I
know
get
gospel
it.
and the blues came
Well, what's your
from.
background? Were you a church musician?
Well, I grew up. Well, actually, I was raised Catholic, but
Okay.
I kind of deviated from that. Started working with different gospel, local gospel vocalists
Okay.
in the area, and then
Interesting.
my own personal love for contemporary gospel, coupled with the experience I had with working with other gospel singers in the local area. Not any real famous people, but
Well, who are some of your favorite gospel artists?
Well, my personal favorite today, the late Darrell Coley. Darrell Coley is, if you go to any church or speak to any gospel artist, you say Darrell Coley,
Okay.
their eyes should light up.
All right.
Darrell Coley is like the male version of, say, Karen Clark Sheard.
Okay.
But he's passed away, but he's like Stevie Wonder in gospel.
Right.
Because Stevie Wonder is a vocal acrobat and an exceptional
Yes, he is.
writer.
Yes, he is.
Darrell Coley came from, I
I'll
think,
find
the
it.
Hawkins family, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. He was originally a keyboard player.
I see.
But Darrell Coley, you got Yolanda Adams,
Mhm,
you got Vanessa Bell Armstrong,
preach, brother,
Vanessa
preach.
Bell.
of course, Donnie McClurkin.
Mhm.
There's a
The
bunch of
Winans.
the Winans.
Mhm.
So in terms of contemporary, when
Fred
I was
Hammond.
coming up,
Fred.
Oh,
Fred.
God.
Ooh.
Rance.
So I'm mentioning a lot of.
Rance Allen, man.
Oh, Rance Allen.
Yeah.
See,
But
so all these people, so I'm more familiar with contemporary people, even though I appreciate the traditionalists,
Mhm,
like your Mahalias, like
come on.
Mahalia
Yeah,
and
foundation.
the people that came from the Mahalia, Shirley Caesar, who's still blowing today.
Yes, he is.
She's exceptional, and
Yes, she
when
is.
when she delivers, she's singing well, but she's still giving you that message.
Yes, she is.
So all these contemporary artists I'm influenced by because I just love the music, and I grew up in church, and so all that combined with my love for the contemporary jazz and the traditional jazz that my father used to play, Charlie Parker and Art Tatum music, and
And my
so all of
dad,
that is built up in me. So I just love to hear a whole lot of the soul, calypso. Because I grew up with that.
Earlier
through my
on,
grandmother.
you mentioned your vocals, and the artists that you mentioned were many, many vocals. I can hear from the way you speak, your resonator, that you are in a cover. You speaking like a singer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can feel that. But and most singers used to come from church.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That was about the only place that we could start. So we got a lot of that blues,
Blues and
art
gospel is our foundation. Listen, Aretha Franklin, who they called the Queen of Soul, she was called the Queen of Soul because she came from gospel, and what she just did was just tweak her gospel influence to make soul music.
Yeah.
They would tell me.
Same thing with Ray Charles.
Yes, Ray Charles as well.
Oh,
Ray
my
and Aretha
goodness.
are prime examples of
Al
they
Green.
come from gospel,
Mhm.
but it's that meshing, that blending that created what we have now known as soul music.
So now, tell me how you feel about today's jazz. You are today's jazz. We look at the greats, who influence us all, the pharaohs, the trains, you know, Ella, Sarah. Today, we have some of the finest jazz musicians, you know.
I think that's a really good question. Well, let me say first and foremost, when I got
Esperanza kills me.
oh yes, absolutely.
That's true.
But as far as today's jazz, I was very fortunate because I had some jewels dropped on me by a brother named Alan Palmer. Right now, Alan Palmer was a child prodigy that played with Jackie McLean. Jackie McLean, as you know, he's from that school of Charlie Parker, Coltrane. So I was able to get these jewels dropped in my lap. But then he gave me, he didn't give me a choice, but I had the opportunity to be a jazz pianist, right? But to be a jazz pianist, I was going to have to put the creative side of my music down. So I took the choice of just being creative and just taking some of the jazz stuff with me. And then, like I said, hooking up with these brothers, it was more or less like I said, okay, it may have, I mean, some songs will be some jazz stuff in there, but then like what Glenn will bring to the table, what Greg will bring to the table, what Dan will bring to the table. As mentioned, like Dance in the Nile. Dance in the Nile was actually the first song we all recorded together. And so when we recorded this together, we was like, wait a minute, man, we ain't a jazz band, but we just let it ride. But
I got it.
to get into the influences of today, I listen to you know, cats like Soul Live, Lettuce, because there's a whole movement of jazz and funk out there, and it's not on contemporary radio, but you know, you have some artists that are really doing their thing, you know. Who else do I listen to as well, besides Lettuce? Woke Robot, I just got schooled too.
Yeah, shout out to my man Jim Puccio, cat
Wow.
He sent me something the other day and said it's his son-in-law's two brothers. And he sent me the thing. I looked at it on YouTube, and these guys are called Woke Robot. And what they're doing is totally ridiculous. I mean, these guys are off the chain. It's, wow. I mean, these guys got the groove, they got the funk, they got the horn line going. It's scary what they're doing. So, you know, if you're out there, Woke Robot, what's up? You know, do your thing.
Are they in New York?
I really don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to Jimmy to find out, you know, where they are based at. But if you go on YouTube, you look under Woke Robot. I forgot the name of the song that they have. I'll probably reference it on my phone, but it's a simple little video. You know, they got like a multi-screen thing going on, and these cats are just going off, and you'll be surprised when you see these cats that you walk past these cats on the street like they're some normal guys and stuff. They're killing it. They're definitely killing it.
You know, I wanted to remind my audience that you are listening to Diverse Souls on Evenings with Eleanore on King and Queen Radio and BrooklynStation.com. We're here every Wednesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. And remember, Wednesday's child is full of whoa! It's hump day. So thanks for joining us. We thank you for your support. And we'd like to play another track from Diverse Souls right now for your listening pleasure. Thanks, Howard. You know, I will have my structure my ideas. And when I told you it's over, I got to cook dinner, right? I got to cook dinner. And somebody's wife is calling me and saying, you know, Tommy's on the wagon. Don't let him drink any beer, right? So Tommy's up there. So we sit there all night, get the party together, or the horn man, comes in and I plug him in, and say, you're 50, 1 degree off. And I'm like, I'm 50, I get it. You know? But he's talking degrees of sound.
Right.
And you're just listening to everything he says. It was a dream come true. A dream come true. You've got to tell us about this one.
First and foremost, shout out to Mr. Mark Narcisse, who played the horn. As mentioned, this was the first song that we recorded together.
Well, that sounded straight ahead jazz.
Yes, but that was not the intentions. That was not the intentions. We just ran with it. And see, the thing about it is because we have these influences, you know, and when we, as mentioned, when we started recording, we just went in there with freedom. So like once Glenn started laying his stuff, Greg laid his stuff, you know, I laid the piano parts, that's what you hear.
How much of your lifestyle, your family, your habits, your interaction with other folks influence your lyrics or your sound?
Well, growing up, it was very eclectic in my house.
Okay. What do you mean?
Well, if back in the days when you had albums stacked, you know, to play, it could be Earth, Wind and Fire.
Okay.
One of my favorite bands, Blood, Sweat and Tears.
Okay. Yeah.
Carole King.
Chicago.
Now, yes, Chicago was another one. But if I probably had to say the people who influenced me coming up was Smokey Robinson with the love songs, right?
Man, nobody wrote like Smokey.
Sly Stone for the conscious lyrics, right? And then you had Stevie, who can go with a heart-wrenching love song and get as funky. I mean, some of the music Stevie had was just plain stank. I mean, it was.
You know, it's surreal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So those were like the main influences as far as writing, so as I developed as a keyboard player, I was just fortunate to be, you know, with musicians that were willing to be creative, because that's the thing. You can play music. We got a lot of cats that can play music and can, you know, do their thing. But being creative is a whole.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a whole nother journey.
One of my favorite musicians, I won't call any names, but he can play anything, upside down and backwards. But it's so technical, there's no feeling. You don't feel anything. You admire the fact that he can do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then some guys, just the sound of their horn just drives you nuts. You're like, man, that tone on that horn. You know, so music covers it all. You know, you can be moved by somebody's feeling or by somebody's technique. You know what I mean? So it seems to be room for the vocalists like Whitney, who can slay, or Aretha, a lot of them. And then there are some that have a flavor, a sound that is not pleasing to the ear, but it works.
Right.
You know? It works. So that message, that gift, whereas when I was a kid, they were saying, oh man, she has the greatest voice ever. Well, the greatest voice ever doesn't have to be that one that's sweetest on your ear. You know?
That's true.
That creative journey, whatever that message is that your gift is to convey, has changed.
That's really true. That's very true. And to touch on that, like music is meant to touch the spirit.
Yes.
You know, first and foremost. So I would like to think that what we're doing is unapologetic soul music.
Like that. Unapologetic. I like that.
Now jazz. Now let me be clear on a couple of things. There's a lot of branches on this tree. of our legacy. And not to knock hip hop, because hip hop is very prevalent. But I will say, but it is a branch on a tree. It is a branch on a tree. You got funk, you got blues, you got gospel.
It's a branch.
You know, another branch that came, neo soul. And there, you know, there were people that came from that camp as well.
Hey, you got that New Orleans, Louisiana, Delta, Mississippi,
Dumpster
Delta
funk.
jazz back there.
Dumpster
You
funk.
know,
Dumpster
come on.
The Neville
The
brothers.
Neville Brothers.
The
The
Meters.
Meters.
Man.
Those are some
You
of
know
our
it.
cats. The Meters were some of our cats. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
The Meters were.
The Meters. The Neville brothers.
They never
That's
got the
right.
props they deserved, though.
No, they didn't.
They never got the
didn't.
props.
They got the props from us, I think.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, they
like the
never got the
Womack family, you know? Like Bobby Womack. Man, when I Robert
he's
Martin
exceptional.
produced Bobby Womack and Billy Preston, right? So when I heard, you know, all the people that I love, like when you're talking about gospel, you know, my father sang tenor in a gospel group, and the Highway QCs and Soul Stirrers, you know, that's
Soul
what
Stirrers,
I grew
yeah.
up with. And I had
Sam
4
Cooke.
brothers. So we all had parts.
Okay.
You know?
Y'all understood the
We
harmony.
were in the
didn't you?
big mirror on the wall on Sunday, you know, doing a harmony parts. We were the Temptations. I was a female member of my family.
The
that-
quartet type gospel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's probably what started my love for the harmonies.
Okay.
You know? Because to me, it's just, when I would hear Dad and his group and those harmonies were just, it was just something I grew up on. I ate it up, you know? And when I grew up and I would hear Aretha Franklin's background singers or Sweet Inspiration or Ray Charles's, you
Yeah,
know,
the Raylettes.
background.
The Raylettes.
The Raylettes. Carolyn Dennis, who I was in off Broadway with, her mother sang the lead on with Ray Charles and the Raylettes. So to have that generation, I was floored, and she can blow. Carol Dennis, hey, but I'm telling you, just to have that history, oh man, I'm telling you, I'm eating it
Coming
up.
from a lineage.
I mean, to sit here on the talk show every week, my own podcast, and to talk to you guys about your journey and to see where you're going and to say, you know what, we sat here in 2019 and talked about what's going on. You know, history is being made because you guys are gone and go.
There was something else I had wanted to mention about coming together with these brothers, because me and Greg was running together for a good while. But there is another person that definitely let us get our shine on as we were developing, and because he isn't here anymore, I definitely just wanted to say a few words on brother Wayne Holmes, Mr. Wayne Holmes. And I used to always tease him as like the hardest working man because he was, listen, he's a giant. Wayne Holmes is a giant, and this was a brother that could play everything from jazz, gospel, R&B. He was just such a gifted musician and a very giving musician. So I wanted to definitely shout out Mr. Holmes, rest in peace, and really acknowledge him, you know, because he really helped us get our groove on, you know, in many ways. So shout out to the Holmes family and Mr. Wayne Holmes, rest in peace.
All right. Well, what we've been hearing from your music, I'm telling you, there's nothing out there like it. It's awesome. You guys definitely have a sound. And I'm going to ask Holly if she can pull up another track. Hello. I just want to remind you guys that you're watching BrooklynStation.com. You're watching KingandQueenRadio.com. Holly is doing the best job ever, as she does every week. I just want you to know, Holly, we love you. We appreciate you. You're burning the house down. I'd also like to remind you guys that the programs here at King and Queen Radio. Sister Dubon, you guys have got to watch the show. You are in for a treat. Give us a call, touch base with us, look at us online, and I bet you're going to be a regular here, just like I am. I fell in love with King and Queen Radio, and I fell in love with you. And I want to know that you fell in love with us. Reach out to us at eveningswitheleanore@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know the music you'd like to hear, the guests that you'd like to have on the show. And if you'd like to be on the show yourself and showcase your own unique talent, well, please do reach out to us. We're here for you. Once again, we're talking to diverse souls. And believe me, you're in for a treat. Somebody's walking. Somebody's walking. Tiptoeing. I want a front row seat. Oh man, that is awesome. What was the name of that one?
That's Crazy Love.
Crazy Love.
Crazy
by
Love.
Diverse Souls. Oh man, that was nice. Nice.
Thank you.
So
Thank
tell
you
us,
much. Thank you.
where do you guys see yourself, say, I don't know, a few years from now? I won't go that 5-year trip. I always say I'm going to live to be 100. I hope God is listening.
120, 120, 120.
120? Okay.
Well, I'll let Glenn answer
Oh,
that.
man, I can't. No, you, Don, you the man. You,
Where would you like to be?
you got to give her that answer.
Honestly, touring the world.
Okay.
Yeah, touring the world. Because I feel like we're musicians, so our thing is to give people music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't get me wrong, creating this stuff in the studio is a beautiful thing, but feeling the energy.
There's nothing like live.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes, yes,
You know?
yes.
I work with a bluegrass band, right? John Fogerty tribute band.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I'm having the
Greatest
time
clear
of
order
my
divide.
life. It's nothing but fun, you know? I mean, the dance floor is crowded. I mean, people love rock and roll. It's roots music, you know, it's bluegrass. And when I hear the bluegrass chords, I just hear the blues, right?
Right.
So when he wrote Proud Mary.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So, and when I hear anything else he wrote, Blue Boy or Out My Back Door or,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Classic.
Have you ever seen the rain? You know, so I hear all those chords. My man has been listening to blues and gospel and I mean bluegrass to me is just soul music. The chords are the same.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know, I listen. One of my favorite groups, the Dixie Chicks. You know, Travis Tritt.
Dixie Chicks, I don't have any of their albums, but they're pretty good.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, they throw down.
Oh man, the harmonies.
Yes, that's what I appreciated about them.
Are you kidding me? The stories, I mean, the stories are the same stories that we have. The struggles, you know?
Yes,
the
that's
family.
Country music is about
Right,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's about the
About
lyrics
that.
too. About the lyrics.
Absolutely. So when I'm doing the parts, you know, I don't have to think about, you know, the music is set in stone. You know, whatever improvs you do, the crowd is singing. Half the time you don't have to sing. The people are singing with you, singing for you. It is the most fun I can say that I've had in a while on a gig. You know, I just show up and fit right into the music, and it is so much fun. Of course, I find myself at rehearsals when, you know, I want to sing the songs. I always bend it bluesy, you know, or soul or R&B, and it works like a champ. And I intend to cover one or two of them because it hasn't been done. You know, how many? You know, Gladys Knight would have covered "Help Me Make It Through the Night." Whitney Houston covered Dolly Parton, "I'll Always Love You."
That's right.
And that
You
was
know?
a huge song. That was huge.
When you listen to the changes, you know, when you hear where the vocals do not go on those chords, you know, and you fill in those gaps, oh, it's all virgin territory.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's all virgin territory.
Yeah.
You know, and then having the use of the programs, you can go to your workshop and experiment with all these things, you know.
Yeah, this is true.
So I find myself sitting up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning saying, oh man, did I do that? Is it that late? You know, because you get lost in some of the things that you discover in other people's music. You know, like Madonna, for an instance, you call her a marketing genius. But basically, she flipped the script on a lot of history in the arts that people didn't discover or people didn't do their research.
Right.
She researched to the nth degree. You know, you can see Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. You can see a lot of the scenes from various movies in her videos.
Voguing.
Yes.
That
And
voguing thing.
many.
Right.
You know? So it depends on how much due diligence you want to do. And like you said, you got to stay true to yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Every
Absolutely.
day.
You gotta
I
stay
just
true
wanted to
yourself.
just say one thing, sister. I want to thank you on behalf of Diverse Souls for letting us get our shine on.
Oh, thank you.
This has really been a beautiful experience. Beautiful experience.
It
So,
really has been.
Yes, so.
It really has been. You know, I talk about friends for life, you know, and musicians seem to fall into that category. You know, you are familiar and you have a relationship, like Bill Withers. Never met Bill Withers, but I know him like a brother. I love him like a brother. I know his music inside out. I know his history. You know, I know his divorces. I know his marriages. I know what song was written about what about. You know what I'm saying? When Aretha Franklin is having a hard time, you know, I know what she wrote about. So we follow each other's history, you know, and we can hear that history through the music,
Musical expression.
you know, without having that autobiography and that, you know.
It's not always black and white.
It's not.
It's in sound.
It really isn't.
Sound, lyrics.
You know, it really isn't, you know. I know we have controversies going on, like nobody wants to play the Michael Jackson music.
Right.
But my feeling is you can't deny the creativity.
Right.
You can't deny the presence. You know, you might not like what a lot of artists have done, a lot of politicians have done, a lot of writers, a lot of painters, a lot of dancers, but you can't deny the art. You can't deny the presence, that they were there, that they were a force, and that music will live forever.
Yes.
You know? I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'd appreciate your take on it.
I'll let Boom go first. All right, let me just say first and foremost about Mike. Listen, I'm a J fan,
Yes.
J5 fan for life. So, as far as these things that are happening, like you said, it's controversy.
It is?
And of course, people that we grew up and that we love, because like you said, these people are like family members. You know, like Michael Jackson growing up. You know, I remember getting up early Saturday morning, checking out the Jackson 5 cartoon, and you know, it's funny because as I got older and I started listening to those songs as I got older, like Sugar Daddy, The Love You Saved.
Yes.
Like when you listen to The Love You Saved, they're talking about protecting, you know, your womanhood. And I was like, we was moving to these things, but to just touch on what we was talking about, it's very unfortunate. You know, it's very unfortunate. And then, really, this last documentary, I don't know, like, you know, I do got my personal feelings on it because these are people that came after the fact.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
you want to smile up with this man, right? And build your career off of this person. And so, I don't know, you know, when you achieve a certain success, that's part of the territory.
Open season, huh?
Yes, yes. You know?
Yeah, but I was going to add to that was basically, you know, if you don't have something going on in your life, whether it's good or bad or whatever, you don't have a story to write.
That's true.
And with that, with music, to me, that's all it is. It's basically stories that are being told musically. So none of us here, except for you, baby, and maybe us after tonight, thank you very much, that, you know, in the public eye, you know, your life is on display. So, you know, there's people out here that behind closed doors, we don't know what's going on in their
That's
lives.
true.
You know, so, and when you're on that domain and you're out there in the public and you have to walk a fine line, and then we're not perfect. You
That's
know,
true.
if somebody comes through
That's
here and
true.
can walk on water, then I'll be impressed.
That's true.
And I'll join in.
Well,
But the thing is, you know,
I like to ask a question. And I hope kings and queens don't get beat up on what I'm getting ready to say. 'Cause I'm getting ready to speak on a giant.
We've already had the disclaimer at the beginning of the show. You
Okay,
forgot.
thank
I missed
you.
that.
How
can say
come
this.
people don't have a problem with Elvis
True.
and his young wife?
That's true. There
Now,
were many. There were
you're
many.
willing to rake other people through the coals, and
That's true.
I ain't got a problem with that.
That's true.
Now, to add insult to injury, when I was growing up, right, rock and roll, I didn't know it came from us. every time Elvis came on, I don't care whose household I was in, it could have been an uncle, somebody's pops, and when they would say the king of rock and roll, they would say Lee Lee. You know, and then they would go into, I didn't know that we created rock and roll.
But Elvis was, you know, one of the brothers was writing for Elvis, you know, and selling the tracks to him.
But
you know?
But the point is that if you're gonna do it across the board.
True.
Now, just like Bill Cosby, there's other people that's high in that industry that's got tapped by the Me Too movement, that is still in their position, or they're still fighting on the outside looking in. But I don't want to really get too much off the subject matter, but like as far as Mike, I take that a little personal because I'm a Jackson 5 fan.
You know, everybody's got some S word in their lives.
Right.
You know?
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nobody's perfect, but you can't wipe out the music.
There you go.
You know, I don't condone whatever those things are. I don't condone.
None of
However,
us do. None of us do. Right.
The way you make me feel, the
Right.
way you make me feel, you can't take that away from me.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
music is a gift, and
It is.
Mike was one of these people that, you know, truly that comes once in a lifetime. You know, him, Prince, Jimmy.
I mean, the collaborations with Quincy and, you know, just across the board. You couldn't deny the creativity. You couldn't deny that there was a creative force there.
Well,
you know?
well, Quincy was a
when
giant.
you say the king, I think of Michael. That's my king.
Right. Well,
You know?
Quincy was a giant.
Oh, are you kidding me?
When, you know, him and Mike started working together. I mean,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
with the brothers Johnson.
That's right. But Quincy went back to, you
Mr.
know,
Ingram.
yeah, but he went back to
Ray Charles.
all the theme songs from the TV shows in my childhood.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
all the
That's
detective
right.
Maddox and all the
Scoring.
Yes.
Scoring. Yeah.
Come on, you know. When I was a kid, my father's sitting there watching Ed Sullivan say, and I hear my father would say, "Those old guys." He would say that. He'd say that about Count Basie, right? So he's watching Ed Sullivan, and he'd be saying, you know, Hank Jones, those old guys. I didn't know Hank Jones then. I didn't know the guys he knew that were in Ed Sullivan's orchestra or Jackie Gleason's orchestra. You know, I had no idea that he knew the individual jazz musicians. And then when I grew up and I said, my father was really heavy, he knew all those, I had no idea. Because he never discussed it to that extent. He would have Count Basie 33s, you know?
Yes.
Because we had the old
33s,
Victrola and
78s.
Motorola. Yeah, but to know that these guys and Quincy played in those orchestras, man, we had a lot to learn. We had a lot
Like
to
Don
learn.
said, a lot of legacy.
A lot of legacy. I want to ask Holly if she could grace us, bless us with one more track. And I know, I'm not sure if your people are calling in to talk to you. I've been hearing the phone ring, so I'm not sure who might be calling in. But I would like very much to just remind you guys that we are talking to diverse souls. And before we leave them this evening, we're going to let you know where to find their work, where to find their music, where they're going to be appearing, and also any links that they want to leave with us. And hopefully they will continue to check in with us and keep us abreast of what's going on their journey, because I think we've made some friends here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Holly, what we got back there?
Oh, okay. I've heard the name.
Assemblyman Tom McKevitt. Committee man, Chris Hopkins. It's a nice place to be. I've been there. Last night. Four generations. You know, I was grandson's earlier when he said, giving thanks to his grandmother. I have two grandsons. One is 14 and one is 18. When they were younger, for Christmas, I would buy them guitar lessons, piano lessons. I would give them studio time, right? So my 18-year-old grandson is now in Savannah College of Art and Design. And the 14-year-old for Christmas is a dog wanting to talk, right? So now he's reading the book all. So being a grandmother, I can, have that little influence. So now at the kitchen table, when we sit down to dinner, we get up with products, because everybody, my daughter, is like, I wish I could. She is just, man, she's amazing. So we get up with products, I produce them, they produce me. My grandson produces me, like, 13 years, learn the programs. I would take them with me in class. I would take her with me to the work class. Right? They can sit I would have concerts and I would take them in. Make sure they saw what was happening. Stephanie would do the same thing. My daughter, even take my daughter with her on the road. As a family, we've been writing and producing and sort of watching it grow. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's the best thing that ever happened. But my grandson is in Georgia. She said, Mama, I was on the basketball court playing with this old guy. And he was listening to your music all the time. And that trips him out. That trips him out. Yeah, but now I'm like, what old guy? What was he listening to? What was he listening to? But it's just interesting that they're taking me seriously now because they see what's happening. They see what's happening. It's just, grandkids, where do you have them? You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe how, I just want to say that when you have a pet, that heart grows and accepts that love. And people that don't have pets don't have that love in their heart. People that have children, that have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, that love grows, that heart accepts that love. The music, you accept that love and that creativity for other people. And it expands that love in your heart. And people that don't experience that, once again, I'd like to once again, I'd like to remind you that you are with King and Queen Radio and BrooklynStation.com. Evenings with Eleanore, and we're talking with diverse souls. We've spent the evening with diverse souls, and I hope you've enjoyed the music, the background, the journey, and I really, really think that this is a journey you're going to want to follow. At least I know I am. And I would ask the guys one more time to tell us where we can find your links, find your music, download your music. Mr. Spoon.
With me, losing on trying to use it. Don knows all the platforms and stuff like that. I'll be out on Kings Highway and Remsen Avenue.
Okay.
The EPs as we go along. You can get them from me. Just come on by. I'll give them out to you for free.
But
Don't
you can
worry about
also
it.
watch tonight's show. You can also watch tonight's show at brooklynstation.com, kingandqueenradio.com, youtube.com. You guys can see this live stream show, and you can probably download it.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. Well, also you can get the CD
Okay.
at www.diversesouls. That's DA_VERSE souls.com. And you can find us at Diverse Souls at Facebook. And we're on pretty much all iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Weezy,
iHeartRadio.
iHeart.
Oh,
Yeah, so
you guys are all over the place. So you can't miss them. You can't miss them.
Kings Highway.
Shout out to Kings Highway and Remsen Avenue.
Queen Radio, you got King. Yeah, King right here. If I get hit, just drag me over to Brookdale House.
I won't say that.
Now, don't forget to let them know about, checking out the,
In checking out the looking into what we're doing through the site, we eventually will be doing some more live things, and there's a showcase coming up, so you gotta let them know about the showcase.
I forgot all about it. We're doing a showcase. Well, we got caught up in the journey.
I stay in trouble when he does all this stuff.
What we're getting ready to do, a showcase at Paradise Studios, and so it's going to be a live performance of the band that will be streaming live over the internet, as well as getting the DVD of the performance.
And when is the second place?
This month.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're in rehearsal to do our thing.
Okay, so you're gonna be sending us a promo, sending us a notice, so we can let everybody know what's going on.
An invite.
An
invite.
We'll be there. Holly, we gotta get some remote hookups. You heard that? we can Skype you.
Okay, cool.
We'd like to take the time to thank Holly
Yes, please.
for having us
thank you, sister.
and
Thank
doing her thing.
Please. Thank you, Zena
Still
Pollard.
thank you anyway.
Thank you so much, Sister Dubong. Thank you, Brooklyn. And thank you, King and Queen Radio. Hey. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. That was awesome. You gotta keep it tight. And since we can Skype, I'd like to have, if you can send us a snippet, we can just drop it online. We're promoting it that way because, lots and lots of that. We work a lot of
King and Queen Radio offers unique opportunities for independent pastors and radio program producers in the metropolitan area. Both King and Queen Radio and Brooklyn Station provide private